The agenda basically right now will go over introductions and discuss the purpose of the hearing, the procedural instructions, and then we'll get to the speakers. For those of you who came in, there was a registration slip up there. You can register to speak for or against, to testify to us, or you can just register in favor for or against. If you have those slips, you can feel free to bring those up to me at any time, and we will take those back and they'll become part of the record. Yes, sir. Okay. Right now, we're going to just do introductions. The Department of Administration staff is here, and I'll start over here.
My name is David Robbie. I'm the legal counsel with the Department of Administration.
My name is Renee Powers. I lead the plat review program and the municipal boundary review program for the department.
And I'm Eric Schminke. I work with the municipal boundary review program.
And I'm Dawn Vick. I'm the administrator of the Division of Intergovernmental Relations within the Department of Administration. So thank you for coming. I guess right now then we'll go to the Village of Kekoskee introductions. Lloyd, would you like to start?
Lloyd Leckner, President, Village of Kekoskee.
And could you also spell your name for our court reporter when everyone gets up to speak, please?
Okay, Leckner is L-E-C-H-N-E-R, Lloyd, L-L-O-Y-D.
Jerry Barber, trustee.
John Becker, trustee.
Anyone else from the village here? All right, the town of Williamstown.
Don Hilgendorf, chairman.
John St. Peter, Egerton, St. Peter, Pettit, and Rosenfeld, the attorney for the town.
Al Schellinger, Town Supervisor 1, SCHELLINGER.
Laura Skeshke, Supervisor 2.
All right, anyone else from the town here? All right, from the city of Mayville?
Yeah, James Hammis, the city attorney, representing the city in this matter. Mayor Belk, you want me to do something?
Mayor Rob Belk, B-O-E-L-K. We have Alderman Gene Frame representing Ward 4 and 7 for the city of Mayville, and Bob Smith representing Ward 2 of the city of Mayville.
All right, thank you, everyone. The purpose of the hearing is for us, the Department of Administration, to hear testimony from the village and town, and from the city of Mayville, and from others interested in the cooperative plan. Testimony will be used to help the department apply the statutory standards in statute 66.0307 to the community's proposed cooperative plans. This hearing is not a court-type hearing, even though we do have a court reporter. There are no rules of evidence, swearing in, or cross-examination of witnesses or objections, etc. It's a chance for us, for the department, to hear from the three communities, residents, and others who are interested in this plan. Please direct your comments and questions to us only, not to the audience, but to us. And then comments may also be submitted to us in writing within 10 days following the hearing. So we'll take written comments to us. 10 days from now is Monday, April 23rd. We will take breaks if there becomes a break in testimony, and everyone here has already testified. We will stay here until 7 o'clock, because that's when we posted that we'll be here until. We do have handouts up there. We had an agenda, and we'll go in order that agenda. We'll hear from Kekoskee, Williamstown, and Mayville, and then we'll have time for individuals to speak. There was also up there a cooperative plan process flow chart that shows we are kind of at the end of the cooperative plan process. The department's review and determination will be completed by May 10th. So by May 10th is when we may approve, deny, or return the cooperative plan with recommended changes. The statutory standards were also on the table. They're most useful if testimony and comments relate to this department's statutory review criteria. These criteria are what the department looks at in making its determination. And then also those hearing registration slips. Again, if you're going to come up and testify, please remember to spell your name for the reporter here. And we'll start out with with the Village of Kekoskee and Town of Williamstown. And, please, let's begin.
Okay, our comments will be both for the Village of Kekoskee and Town of Williamstown, since we've been meeting jointly on this process. My name is Ken Jaworski. I'm with the firm of Martinson and Isley. I've been a planning consultant to the Town of Williamstown for about the last 5 years or so on a number of issues throughout the town. Basically, our presentation tonight is to talk about the best way to predict the future in our town is to create it, and we're looking to become the Village of Williamstown through this process. The reasons for developing the cooperative plan to expand the village is a bit of a history here. The village notified the town of its intent to dissolve. Between 2015 and the present, both boards have met numerous times to explore various options to combine both governments to best address the future needs of all the residents, including the town, village, all the residents. Town and village leaders determined that the appropriate approach was to enter into a cooperative plan that would serve the purpose described in Wisconsin Stat 66.0307. Coordinated, adjusted, harmonious development is what's stated in that statute. Current village board members agreed to continue in their position in order to accomplish an orderly merger of the two municipalities into one village. Tell me the village will ensure Kekoskee area residents will maintain the same powers to address their future needs. Okay, and let me just say too that this presentation will be provided to the DOA for you here. Okay, under state law, towns are subordinate to other types of governments, villages and cities. One of the areas that the board had discussed. Several attempts to negotiate a border agreement between the town and the city of Mayville have been undertaken but unsuccessful. So there is a bit of a history here as well in terms of the governments trying to work together on border agreements. The most recent formal attempt occurred in 2010, received support from city staff, but was rejected by city council at that time. However, the town continues to seek an agreement with the city even today. Meetings that are being conducted to try to work this off. Subsequent annexations, some of which involve properties that still have not been developed, led to loss of town tax base over the last 16 years. This is some of the issues now that we're summarizing. Mary? And here's a map showing the total of about 186 acres, numerous years that annexations have occurred. The timing of these sometimes were surprising to the town. Nonetheless, they occurred because of the situation. Mary? However, a cooperative border agreement with the city would create a framework and timeline for both communities to better anticipate these transitions. Annexations of the past occurred as a schedule of the people wanting to annex. A border agreement could best set up an appropriate transition process that would make it a bit more predictable for all the units of government. Mary? Some more of the same issues here as well. Extraterritorial review impacts, something that the towns had to deal with. City of Mayville exercises extraterritorial land division review authority in the town of Williamstown. The Village of Kekoskee does not. It never has exercised that authority. And the city has been using the authority to deny town residents land divisions despite having the divisions approved by the town. In some cases, in May 2017, the town filed a notice of claim against the city of Mayville on the ground that the city was exceeding its land division review authority by denying land divisions in the town. The point here, again, a border agreement could resolve this because we could put some structure as to how reviews would occur in some of the adjacent properties that would be in the town. And here's just a map showing some of those extraterritorial review impacts, some of the locations. Some close to the city, some not so close to the city, but yet impacts to the town residents were felt through that particular process. What are the advantages of expanding the village? That's really what we're talking about here. Well, for one, we're going to increase the candidate pool for municipal officials and address the village's impending dissolution. Okay? So we'll have a bigger pool of people to govern the new village. Increase the autonomy through home rule, opportunity through empowerment. The village of Kekoskee has village powers. If the town were to be part, the village would be part of the town, it would just make perfect sense for those village powers to continue so that growth could be managed with the use of those tools, home rule tools. Retain the tools needed to properly manage and concentrate development within the current village. Basically what I just said. Advantages continue. Protect town residents from extraterritorial interference through land divisions, thus avoiding litigation. Make transfers of territory a joint effort between the expanding village and the city. We believe this is the proper way to work out areas that should be developed. And last, achieve efficiency and economy in the performance of government functions. Certainly a consolidation of governments in this particular case should be viewed as an efficiency process. We think that's a huge advantage as well. A more predictable tax base. Somebody referenced to the annexation map earlier. An agreement would certainly put some timing to that and some procedures to that. Protect and control the town's destiny. Improve the ability to negotiate with the city by operating on a level playing field. We would be dealing with the village and the city with basically equal authority in those negotiations, and hopefully would produce a better intergovernmental plan. And approval of a cooperative plan does not affect the authority to make an agreement with the city. So if you were to approve this cooperative plan, it doesn't affect the fact that a board agreement could be executed of some type. So those are the advantages that I wanted to hit at, give you a little bit of the history there. Next slide, Mary. It's going to be for Matt? Okay, yep. Matt's up, but he's going to talk now about the cooperative plan and some of the details with them.
Good afternoon. My name is Matt Parmentier. I'm also one of the town and village's attorneys. And I want to cover two topics briefly. One is the content of the agreement. I'll cover that very briefly. And then I want to get into the department's review criteria and talk a little bit about why our plan meets them. So the department has a copy of our plan. You're familiar with the content. For the interested members of the public who are here, you may have taken part or attended the hearing back in December where we went through in more detail what the content was. If you're still looking to obtain a copy of the full agreement, you can get it on the Town of Williamstown's website, so you'll have the opportunity there to read it in detail. But I'm just going to go through the big picture topics so that you understand essentially what's happening. So the first aspect of the agreement is the boundary change. This is set to happen through the adoption of what's called an attachment ordinance. That's an ordinance by which the Village of Kekoskee will attach the remainder of the town of Williamstown. It will become one unified village, and at the time it will be the Village of Kekoskee. Once that happens, then the village will go through the process of changing its name. It will change its name to the Village of Williamstown as a nod to the town of Williamstown. However, that's not a change in entity. The Village of Kekoskee will continue on as the same entity, just under a different name. We're not incorporating a new municipality or anything like that. As Ken mentioned earlier on, the Village of Kekoskee board members are interested in stepping down from their positions. They've been nice enough to wait while we do this. Once the plan is in place, the village board members intend to step down, and then the current Town of Williamstown board members intend to step into their positions through the process of appointment, and thereafter elections will take place on their normal cycle.
Could you speak up a little, Matt?
Sure thing. After that point, we are going to essentially combine the functions from the former town and the former village into one. They will combine ordinances. The Town of Williamstown and the Village of Kekoskee currently each have their own sets of ordinances. We've already been working through the process of identifying overlap and combining those two so that there will be a single comprehensive set of ordinances coming out of the process. Same goes for planning and zoning. The functions that were conducted by both municipalities will be combined into one. The Village of Kekoskee does not currently engage in zoning, but the town does. So we're going through the process of creating a new zoning district that covers the current village of Kekoskee, so that there is a zoning district that's reflective of what's currently there. As far as services, the plan is to maintain the status quo as far as possible. So the services that the town is currently providing will continue to be provided. The services that the village is currently providing will continue to be provided. As far as what the county is providing, I think will continue basically in the same form that it has. There may be some minor variations as far as maintaining county highways, who has jurisdiction over the paved portion versus the shoulders, but that's minor. Other than that, we intend for things to just continue on. We've heard a discussion of EMS services, and we've heard that there's potential for for the city to no longer provide EMS services to residents in Kekoskee and Williamstown after the merger of the two municipalities occurs. We hope that that doesn't happen. If it does, we're prepared, and there are third-party providers that the Village of Williamstown can contract with to provide those services. There is also an agreement currently between the Village of Kekoskee, the Leroy Sanitary District, and the City of Mayville that authorizes wastewater to be discharged from the village into the city's wastewater treatment plant. That should remain unaffected. It's the same entity continuing forward, so we intend to operate that the way that we always have. So that's the content. As far as your review criteria, Mary, go ahead. So your first review criteria that we want to talk about is consistency with comprehensive plans. The Village of Kekoskee does not have a comprehensive plan because it doesn't engage currently in zoning or land division review or any of the triggering mechanisms that would have required it to have a comprehensive plan. So the town of Williamstown is the only party to the agreement that has one. And the town of Williamstown's comprehensive plan discusses boundary issues in detail. We can provide that to the department. And in fact, it talks about pursuing a boundary agreement with the Village of Kekoskee in the existing comprehensive plan, which has been in place for years. Also talks about pursuing boundary agreements with the City of Mayville, which we're working on as well. So what we're doing now has always been consistent with the comprehensive plan, which has been in place for years. When the two municipalities are combined together, we'll go through the process to update the comprehensive plan to reflect the new combined Village of Williamstown, but it's already consistent with what we have at the current time. Services, we talked about this a minute ago. We intend to continue services the same way that they always have. If it becomes necessary that we have to look elsewhere for EMS services, then we can do that. The wastewater treatment services will continue on under the existing agreements as well. As far as the boundaries, one of your review criteria is whether the boundaries are compact, whether they're arbitrary. And I want to frame that criteria in that discussion by giving a reminder of the background, why we're here, and that is the Village of Kekoskee notified the town that it's going to be going through the process of dissolution. What that means is the village and the town are unifying into one way or another. There's not a status quo by which the existing boundaries are going to stay in place. So the cooperative plan doesn't affect what the boundaries are ultimately going to be. It's just going to affect how we get there. Whether we get there through a deliberate and coordinated process through a cooperative plan, or whether the village falls into the town's lap through dissolution, we prefer the former because it's logical. In doing so, we will simplify boundaries by reducing the number that there are. There will no longer be a boundary between the Village of Kekoskee and the town of Williamstown. Things will be simplified in that regard. The boundaries with the City of Mayville and the outer boundaries of the combined municipality will be what they currently are. They'll reflect what the town of Williamstown's outer boundaries are. So there's no change in outer boundaries, and there's the elimination of inner boundaries. So things will be simpler as a result of the plan. The other thing worth pointing out is, if you're not familiar with the geography up here, is that the town of Williamstown is already fairly compact. by town standards. Your typical town is 36 square miles in size, 6 miles by 6 miles. The town of Williamstown, as a practical matter, isn't. And if you flip to the map, if you take a look, the western half of the town is the Horicon Marsh. Takes up nearly 18 of those 36 square miles of territory. If you look at the map, you'll see towards the center there's the city of Mayville that takes up quite a bit of territory. You see the village of Kekoskee there, which is just north of where Mayville is. Down at the bottom corner of the map, you'll see a little bit of the city of Horicon, which shares a boundary with us. And you'll see an area towards the center bottom portion of the town, which is the landfill. So once you exclude all of those things from the town, the yellow is what you're left with. So really the existing town is compact as far as towns go. It's roughly 18 square miles in size. So it's about half the size of a town that you would typically be looking at. So when it comes to compactness, it's worth keeping in mind that the town of Williamstown is already compact as far as townships go. So that covers my territory. John, if you want to wrap us up.
John St. Peter on behalf of the town. We only have a minute or two. I haven't heard a bell yet, but we know we're sensitive to the fact that both the department and of course the general public, but we're speaking to the department, wants to know what efforts have been made to try to resolve these issues without the statutory and the legal mechanisms that are in play now. You're going to hear, I believe, you're going to hear a theme from the city that we are the aggressor, that the city is the victim, and I want the department to know the investment of time and money that the town has devoted over the last 25 years, and it's important that the public understands that too. We went through our archives, and on seven separate occasions, after one or another annexation or the city saying that someone couldn't subdivide their land, even though they're in the town, the city's saying, no, we're going to block it because we have power going out 1.5 miles. After 7 separate occasions like that where property owners were blocked, the town board went to the city and said, let's sit down and talk. Let's sit down and work out a cooperative plan so that we can all predict our future. We know the city has to grow. We know the city has to grow, and it will grow. Those occasions, just to illustrate, occurred in 1994, 2000, 2001, 2005, 2006, 2009, and most recently in 2014. The answer to every one was no. We're the city, you're the town. The view was, you're just a warehouse of land. Your property owners have to wait for us to do something. We continue to be devoted and will commit to trying to work out an agreement with the city. I'm pleased to say that the same night that the town and the village agreed on the cooperative plan, they adopted a public resolution declaring their intent to work with the city and to sit down and to cooperate to work out an agreement. And I'm also pleased to say we've had 2 meetings. The first meeting was sort of a how do you do, and the second meeting we tried to understand the city's needs, and we're going to be presenting some proposals. The next meeting with the city is this Thursday. I think I have that right, Jim.
Good.
Next Thursday, the 19th. Yeah, not today. Thursday, April 19th at City Hall. And we look forward to constructive discussions, and we will make every effort to try to work this out with the city. So with that, that concludes the introductory comments from the town and the village.
All right, thank you. City of Mayville? And then again, for those of you who walked in, there are slips up at the front if you'd like to register for or against, or if you'd like to put your name in to offer testimony after the parties speak. So please don't forget to do that. And if you have slips, feel free to bring them up to me at any time.